How well do you really know yourself? Today, we'll cover 5 surprising forces that shape how you feel and make decisions. Have you ever found yourself reacting with a burst of emotion or making a decision you can't quite explain? Maybe you've caught yourself feeling uneasy in a situation or suddenly attracted to someone and wondered, where the heck did that come from? Most of us like to think we're experts on our own minds. You've lived with yourself your whole life. But much of what drives our feelings and choices happens beneath the surface, often without our conscious awareness. Think about it. I don't know how long you've lived, but you still today probably solicit your friend for advice. What do you think I should do? How does it look I'm acting? What do you think I want? It's because we know that other people observing us know as much as we do, and many times even more about ourselves. I'm Henry, and this is day 54 on my channel, Henry's Millions, where we dive deep into psychology, spirituality, and the mind, helping you unlock your personal potential and understand the forces that are shaping your life. There's 5 today. 5 surprising forces that influence how you feel and decide, based on some of the most eye-opening research about the limits of self-knowledge. I recommend you go back and look at some of the videos on self-knowledge. All right, force number 1. Most of your mind works outside of your awareness. We love to believe we're in control. We believe it. You think you're in control. The debate's raging for thousands of years about free will. It's ridiculous. Whatever you think, we love to believe we're in control. But a huge portion of our mental life is handled by our adaptive unconscious. That's a fact. It's a fast, efficient system that processes information, detects patterns, and even sets goals, all without us realizing it. Even if you had free will, and it's not predetermined and nobody's pulling the strings, your own adaptive unconscious is running most of the show. Think about how you can walk, talk, drive without consciously thinking about every movement. Or how you might suddenly feel uneasy or inexplicably drawn to someone without even knowing why. The adaptive unconscious is always at work, interpreting the world and guiding your behavior, often more quickly and efficiently than your conscious mind ever could. Force number 2, we invent reasons for our actions, and we believe them. When you try to explain why you did something or felt a certain way, you probably came up with an answer that sounds logical. But here's the twist. The psychological research shows that these explanations are often off the mark. Not because you're lying, but because the real causes are hidden in parts of your mind that you can't directly access. Most of our daily choices and moods are shaped by our unconscious processes. When we reflect later, our conscious minds step in and create a story, drawing on cultural wisdom, on personal beliefs, and whatever private knowledge that we can access. These stories feel convincing, but they're often just that, stories, not facts. For example, you might say that you like someone because of their sense of humor, or that you're in a bad mood because of the weather. But these explanations are usually guesses. They're shaped by what you think should cause your feelings, not by what actually did cause your feelings. The real reasons often remain hidden. They're buried in your adaptive unconscious. More than that, the sheer amount of private information you have about yourself, your memories, your thoughts, and feelings can actually make you more confident in your explanations, but not more accurate. In fact, the research shows that when it comes to explaining our own moods and behaviors, we're often no better than a stranger relying on shared cultural knowledge. So that's a humbling realization. Like the stories that we tell ourselves about our feelings and actions are often just that. They're stories. So if we recognize that, we can be more open-minded, less judgmental, and more curious about what's really going on beneath the surface. Force 3, strangers can be just as accurate about us as we are. So you might think that because you have access to your private thoughts and memories, you'd be better at explaining your own feelings and motives than anyone else. But the research shows that strangers can be just as accurate at predicting what influences your mood or behavior. Think about a time when a friend or someone outside your inner circle seemed to understand you better than you understood yourself. That's the power of an outsider's perspective compared to your own. When we try to explain ourselves, we draw on 4 types of information. Okay, this is useful. You draw on 4 types of information when you try to explain yourself. Number 1, shared cultural theories, like people are in bad moods on Mondays, or absence makes the heart grow fonder. Observations of our own behavior, personal beliefs, and private knowledge. But the vast amount of private information that you have can actually make you less accurate because it increases your confidence without improving your insight. So in studies where people tried to predict what influences their mood, their explanations were no more accurate than those of strangers who only had access to cultural theories. Sometimes all that extra information just makes you more certain, not more right. Okay, force number 4. We don't always know what we feel. So it's tempting to believe that even if we don't know why we feel something, at least we know what we feel. But even this is more complicated than it seems. Philosophers have argued that people's reports of their own feelings are incorrigible. It means you can't dispute them or argue with them. You just have to take them at face value. If you say you love someone, then you do. But the evidence shows that we can be wrong about our own feelings. Sometimes people act on feelings they haven't acknowledged, like acting jealous or infatuated before they consciously realize it. So, I mean, I don't know if you've experienced something like this. You know, somebody is behaving like they are jealous, but you bring it to their attention and they will deny it. Honestly, like they wouldn't think that they're behaving that way. And then later on, they can reflect on it and say, you know what, you're right, I was behaving jealously. That's what we're talking about. So the adaptive unconscious can generate emotions and preferences independently of our conscious constructs. We may fail to notice a growing attachment until it suddenly bursts forth, or convince ourselves we love someone because they fit our ideal, even if the feeling isn't there. So society's feeling rules about how we're supposed to feel can obscure our awareness of genuine feelings. For example, when a woman convinces herself she loves a man because he fits her idea of an ideal partner, but it's obvious to her friends that she does not. Her conscious feeling rules get in the way of recognizing her true feelings. Okay, force 5. The adaptive unconscious learns, feels, and sets goals for you. So the adaptive unconscious, as we've discussed in recent videos, isn't just a passive processor. It actively learns from experience. This detects patterns and even sets goals. For example, people with amnesia can learn new skills or avoid dangers without any conscious memory of the event. And in experiments, people can learn complex patterns or rules unconsciously, even outperforming their conscious mind. So our brain process emotion through 2 main pathways: a fast automatic low road and a slower, more analytical high road. So the low road sends signals straight from the sensory thalamus to the amygdala, letting us react instantly to things like danger, but without much analysis. And the high road takes more time, sending information through the cortex for deeper thinking before reaching the amygdala. That's why we sometimes feel or react before we consciously understand what's happening, and only later come up with explanations for our feelings. And the adaptive unconscious can even set goals automatically, sometimes in conflict with our own conscious intentions. So the system is efficient, but it can also be rigid. It clings to outdated patterns or stereotypes. And that could lead to some errors or biases. I wanted to just reiterate or remind you about the limits and pitfalls of introspection. Okay, because people think that if I just introspect, then I could figure everything out about myself, and that's not true. So, while introspection, which is looking inward to understand ourselves, it can be helpful, it has big limits. Because the adaptive unconscious is inaccessible, trying to analyze your feelings or motives can just make you more confused or lead you to false conclusions. So introspection is often a process of constructing a story for yourself, using whatever clues that you can find. Like, have you ever reflected on your own thoughts or feelings only to realize later that your initial understanding was off? So that's a common experience, and it shows how tricky self-reflection can be. So the research shows that analyzing reasons for our feelings can sometimes reduce satisfaction or lead us to doubt our genuine preferences. Like, for example, people who analyze why they like a product may end up liking it less. And sometimes paying attention to our behavior and the feedback of others can provide more accurate insight than just relying on introspection. So, what does all this mean? Much of what drives us is hidden, and our conscious mind often constructs stories to explain what it cannot see. But this isn't cause for you to be in despair, because understanding these truths can make you more humble, more curious, and more compassionate towards yourself and to others. So if you've ever been surprised by your own feelings and actions, you're not alone. I encourage you to share your experiences and questions in the comments. I'd like to hear from you. And let's keep exploring the mysteries of the mind together. See you soon. Every time.